There's a lot of things that you probably do in ChatGPT that would get better results if you did them using work instead. Sometimes just by switching to the work tab and sending off the same prompt. Other times because it has additional, very powerful features, like building a shareable, fully hosted website, scheduled tasks for automated workflows, and an in-app browser, which can even be used to create editable motion graphics. Work is one of the most powerful updates to ChatGPT. And now that it's been out for a while and I've used it a lot, I want to go through how to get the most out of it, what all it can do, and when you should choose work over chat. I'll start off with a simple example sending off the same prompt to chat and to work to show the difference in their approach. And I will cover some more business-related use cases in a minute, but here's something simple that I'm actually in the process of. I'm planning a Disneyland trip. Then I've got the dates, kids' ages. I want it to research everything, hotels, dining, time-sensitive things to book, basically everything to help make this a good trip. So I will send that off. Now I will open up a new chat, come up top and switch it over to work, paste in the same prompt and send it. Now they're both working. And that actually shows a small feature I'll mention. You can have multiple sessions running at once. For a big task, work can take a while. So you can send it off, then while it's working, start a new one, or multiple. I have a bunch of these going at once sometimes. It's nice to be able to multitask. These are both done now. Starting with chat, this took just under 5 minutes, and this is the type of response you're probably used to. I did pull in a couple images, that's nice. And I realized it's during Halloween time. It ranks the hotels, and pulled in a map so I can see where they are. The types of tickets, reservation calendar, day-to-day plan, lightning lane, toddler logistics, cost model, booking order. So this is a great response, very helpful. Now let's open up the one from work. Now this worked for over 10 minutes, so about double the length of time. And this response has the recommended plan, hotel decision, and booking order, kind of the key points here, but it looks like down below it created a document we can open up. And this is where the response looks a lot different. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, obviously, but you can see it's formatted and color-coded nicely. It has checklists and tables throughout when it's helpful. Has red for important information that isn't obvious. Tons and tons of good stuff in here, and a list of helpful links at the bottom. So that looks great. And if we prompted for it in chat, we could get it to create a document like this. But the point is that that was Work's default tendency. It did that without asking explicitly because that's what it's more suited for. So that changes the kind of work you should give it. In chat, the work happens through the conversation. You go back and forth, iterating and refining until you get what you want. In work, you give it the outcome you want, and it can break that up into tasks, explore different directions, use tools, build things, and spend however long it needs working towards a finished result. Chat could have also made that document with the right prompting. So to go beyond that, here's a feature that's unique to work, sites. This is a live website it will spin up that's hosted by ChatGPT, and you can make public to share with people. So I'll take this further using that same thread. I'll say, based on the playbook, create a, then I'll tag sites, make it interactive and useful. 14 minutes later, it built the Disneyland Family Trip Command Center. I can open that up and check it out. Definitely looks nice. We've got a checklist for the next moves, then the hotel options. It recommends the Grand Californian, which I'm not very big on fancy hotels. Just in general, really, but especially with kids, so I'm going to switch that to the Disneyland Hotel. We have what to do in the park broken down by the different days, the working budget that I can adjust to be more accurate, then a full packing checklist. This turned out awesome and could actually be useful. So if I go back out, I can hit share and switch it to public. Then I could share it with my wife or whoever else. Anyone can enter this URL and go there in the browser from any computer. This is a live website. Now if I go back to share, then click the settings icon, I could also change the URL. It's still going to have the .chatgpt.site at the end, but you can change the beginning of it. And right in here, you could switch that out for a full custom domain without that, if you buy one elsewhere. You can also add environment variables if you need to add like a different AI model to the site or anything like that. A reason why work is more suited to this type of task is it's given its own cloud computer for every task, so it can build up its work over time throughout the whole session. It can spend more time on the task and take far more actions to actually get it done. It takes the power and agentic capabilities you get from Codex and makes them easy to use for everyone and for much more general work. These work sessions do also sync to your phone, so I can see all of what it did there. And I could have also started this from my phone. The capabilities are the same if I send it off from my phone or the website. And I don't have to keep the tab open or anything. I could send the prompt on my phone, exit the app, come back to it later on my phone or computer when it's all done. It is a little different if you use the desktop app, where it can work with your local files. I will show that later. To help you get started faster, we put together a full guide on ChatGPT work. It has a lot of what I'm covering here in written form and as a quick reference sheet, but also 9 use cases with full prompts you can copy paste for analyzing data, building a dashboard or site, a daily command center, cross-tool marketing, and more. That's a super fast and actionable way to get started. Just grab that for free using the link in the description. That was a simple, everyday example to show Work's default way of operating. Now, through plugins, you can give it the ability to take far more actions through external tools that you already use. You find them over on the side panel under plugins. You'll see a lot of the common plugins on the main page, but there are far more than what's here. Just use the search bar to find anything you don't see right away. Then to add one, you click the plus button. Then it will prompt you to log into that account, select what it can access, then just like that, it's installed, and now Work has access to my calendar to read, edit, and create new events. And this actually works well now. Plugins used to be pretty clunky and annoying to use. Now you just ask it, and it does it. And when I open up a plugin, you can see they come with the connection to the tool, but also skills which help teach ChatGPT how to actually use that tool properly. In some cases, they may just be one skill. Other times, there's a bunch of skills teaching it how to use it across a bunch of different scenarios. Now, I already have a lot of plugins connected, so I'm going to send off a prompt and we can see it in action using multiple plugins at once. Prepare for my upcoming meeting today. Look through my calendar, emails, and previous meeting notes to figure out what I need to prepare, then do it. In my Google Calendar, it needs to find this meeting with Sam Altman for a follow-up about Futurepedia's $2 trillion acquisition of OpenAI. From there, it needs to find meeting notes in Granola, where I had a preliminary meeting relating to this that has some instructions in the notes about creating a presentation. And in my Gmail, I also have an email with the title from Sam Altman that has some more details. And I do mention in this one that it's for a demo. That's mainly so it doesn't stop when it realizes I sent this to myself. But let's see how it does. All right, it was able to track all of that down and it prepared an 8-slide presentation based on the requirements it found. I will open that up and that looks nice right off the bat. The slides all follow what was asked. I like that we'll be using a strategic equity consortium for a little over 1 trillion of it. That looks solid, and I will mention that this is a PowerPoint file, so when I download it, it's fully editable. I can bump that up to 3 trillion. Normally it is a good idea to be more specific in your prompt and mention what tools it should use, but I was intentionally vague just to show that it's good at figuring things out, then coming up with a plan and changing course when it needs to. I didn't tell it to explicitly use Gmail. I didn't tell it to check Granola or tell it what presentation to make in my prompt. The plugins gave it access to the places where that context already existed, and Work figured out what it needed. It used all the tools, then once it created the presentation, it reviewed it and did a visual pass and found 2 issues. So it fixed those before finishing it up and sending it to me. A lot of plugins work anywhere, like the ones I just showed, but there are some that only work on the desktop app because they need access to local files, the terminal, or the in-app browser. A really cool one is Remotion to create motion graphics. You can create editable motion graphics right in the ChatGPT desktop app, which if you don't have it already, I highly recommend you download it. It will be needed if you want it to work with local files. So you just download it, open the app, and then log into your ChatGPT account and you're good to go. Once you're in here, switching between chat and work feels just like it did on the web. This is where you also have access to Codex, which I use every day. You don't have to, but that's where I switch if I'm building something. We will stay on the Work tab. Then over on the right, there's an option to switch between your computer or in the cloud. So in the cloud is what I've been showing, and it works the same if you're in the desktop app. You'll be able to see these here on your phone or the web app. But one more benefit of the desktop app, I'll show more of in a second, is the in-app browser. It opens up on the right and works like a normal browser for yourself or for ChatGPT to use. But first, back to this Remotion plugin. This only works on the desktop app and set to on your computer. I'm going to drop in the ChatGPT logo and then ask for an editable motion graphic. Then I have a little description of exactly what I want it to do. Then at the end, I will say use @Remotion. That will make sure it uses that instead of hyperframes, since I have both plugins set up. Anytime there might be confusion, you can tag your plugins with the @ symbol. I'll send that off and come back when it's done. It's all done. This did work for over 12 minutes, so it's not fast, but it is amazing. So I'll hit play and start with a chat. Then it will move over to work and a bunch of different tools pop up to show it's multitasking. That is a super smooth animation and exactly what I asked for. It looks almost perfect on the first try, except the logo is covering up the text right here. But this is playing right in an editor within the ChatGPT app, so I can actually resize the logo manually really quick. Then when I play it back, that is perfect. I would use this exactly as is in a video. And I'll really quickly show how the same prompt came back using the Hyperframes plugin, because people always ask about that if I mention Remotion, and vice versa if I mention Hyperframes. This is what that looked like. It's definitely good, but I prefer the Remotion version. And that tends to be the case in what I typically use these for. I'm sure for other use cases, Hyperframes is better. So that is an awesome plugin, and I think is a really good example of how powerful plugins can be. There's thousands, so there's way more options and combinations than what I've shown. Definitely spend some time going through and connecting good plugins. This Remotion editor opened up in the in-app browser, and that browser is an extremely useful feature in here. So this opens up on the side and functions just like a normal browser. You can browse the internet, look up things and leave the tab open for work to look at, or just browse something while you're waiting if you don't want to have to switch to a different browser. But it's also there for ChatGPT to use itself. It can also open sites, click around, fill out text fields, and navigate. It's much better at browser use through this native browser than it was in the past through the Chrome extension. Let's try look up land for sale in Utah. I want it to be forested and near cool areas for adventure. Between 0.5 and 5 acres, pull up the best option in each area in a separate tab in the in-app browser. That's a prompt I could send in chat or using work in the web app, but if I do it in the desktop app, I can send that prompt off, work on something else, or leave my computer. Then when I come back, it not only did the research, but it also has them all pulled up. Chat could link them, but I'd have to open the links separately. It's kind of annoying. This way, they're all right here, with the response and the little table it made right next to it. It's just much more convenient. And these tabs will stay with this chat. I can leave to a different chat, open different tabs if I want, then come back and it's all still here. For some use cases, you may want it to be logged into your accounts. You can log in manually one by one. Under settings, there is also an option to import cookies and passwords. Then it will all be there automatically from a separate browser history like Chrome. You can even create a file or spreadsheet with a list of the apps and login information you want it to have. Then it will be able to log itself in whenever it needs to if it's not already logged in. That's usually just for sites where they make you log in all the time. Otherwise, it will just stay logged in. So right here, I'm logged into X. I could ask it to scroll my feed for me, or you can ask it to talk with tech support or submit a return for you. You can just ask it to do things. And you'll see its cursor moving around and clicking on drop-downs, opening things, typing into fields. It operates just as a person would. Because of that, a really good use case for browser use is if you're building a website. You can let it pull it up and act as a new user and test every part of it to find bugs. Another option is you can use it to interact with a site that doesn't have an API or plugin. There's a lot of options depending on what you're trying to do. But just in general, it's pretty convenient to have the browser right here on the side, so you don't have to context switch between different apps. Then in addition to your browser, it does also have the ability to use your whole computer when you're using it on the desktop app. It can open up and do anything you normally would. That's not something I use much with work. I do use it in Codex sometimes. Like right now, I'm fine-tuning a Premiere Pro plugin I've been working on. I can let Codex open up Premiere and test out features like a person would. So after I ask it to implement something or it tries to fix a bug, it can go test it out for itself. But in general, I don't think a lot of people will have that many uses for computer use. Most of what you want to do will be in the browser. Another really cool thing Work can do is create what they call blocks. This comes in a lot of different forms. The simplest is writing blocks. I'll come back to this thread with the presentation for Sam Altman, and I'm back in the web version, by the way. draft me an email I can respond to Sam with. Make it editable in here. Then it comes back with this inline block where I can make changes to this myself. A non-negotiable is we must change the name to Futurepedia GPT. Then what's especially cool with an email block in particular is I can actually send this. So it has from my connected Gmail already in there. Then I'll say to kevin@futurepedia.io, then hit send, and it actually sends this. So I'll go into my email and there it is. And that was a writing block, which could also be for messages, social posts, documents, checklists, that sort of thing. Then there's also code blocks. These can come in a ton of different forms. I'll show a few. So maybe I want an interactive Kanban board for the acquisition. There it is. I can move this stuff around and track it all. Or here's an interactive dashboard. Here's a calculator that shows how many YouTube views I need to earn 2 trillion at different RPMs. With a $20 RPM, which is probably double my RPM actually, I just need 100 trillion views, the equivalent of 100 million viral videos. And here's how long it takes to save 2 trillion if you invest $10,000 per month with an average return of 8%. 182 years, which seems insanely short, but that's the power of compound interest. I've got an interactive timeline of major generative AI releases. Got a flow chart. I have a little tier list for the different LLMs. Here, I'll actually rank these. ChatGPT, S, mainly because I've mostly switched from Claude Code to Codex. Claude, A, Gemini, C, Grok, D, Perplexity, F. I can't even remember the last time I used Perplexity. Anyway, I think you get the idea. You can make a lot of cool and useful stuff with these blocks. And that was actually a good example of the multitasking option I mentioned earlier. I had all of these being built in separate chats at the same time. A small feature that I find very useful that didn't have a good spot to mention before is the ability to branch chats. There's times where you'll ask for something and you don't get the result you want, or maybe you've gone back and forth for a while, but you want to ask a question and go down a different path from an earlier response. You can go to any message, hit the 3 dots, then click branch in new chat. Now this conversation splits off from right here and I can continue it. Then the other chat remains intact. Anytime you have a process you'll want to repeat again in the future, it's a good idea to turn it into a skill. The skills are like recipe cards for workflows, a package of instructions that teach ChatGPT how to repeat a specific task, and that can involve many steps. So anytime you've gone back and forth iterating on something to get to a final result, if you'll ever do that again, just ask ChatGPT to package the process up as a skill. Then you'll save all that time in the future. I have a specific visual style I like it to use sometimes in Remotion, where I've uploaded reference images it's trained on, talked about pacing and the types of graphics I like. Now, anytime I call that skill, it will use the Remotion plugin to create in a very specific way without me having to send off a long prompt. You can create skills for endless types of things, your business practices, how to create sheets or presentations in a certain way, how to convert one piece of content into different platforms, on and on. And if you have ever created skills in Claude, Chat, or Cowork, and you want to use those here, it's really easy to transfer them. So you go to Claude, go to where your skills are under Customize, then find the one you want, click Download Skill, then that file will be downloaded to your computer. You can just drop that into ChatGPT and ask it to turn that into a skill. And it's really as easy as that. With everything we've covered so far, there's a lot of really powerful features and use cases, but we've been prompting it ourselves each time. Skills was getting a little closer to automating things, but scheduled tasks can get us all the way there. Over on the side panel, you'll see a tab that says scheduled. This is where all of those scheduled tasks are. That could be just a one-off task you want it to do in the future. It could be something you want it to do every week, every day, or every hour. You can fully automate the process. Just tell it what you want it to do and how often, and it will create the automation for you. A good way to do this is often to create a skill first. Just like I talked about in that section, do that whole iteration process to get something just right, turn that into a skill. Then you can just ask it to run that skill on a schedule. So that way you get super consistent results. And I like to create scheduled tasks in the cloud whenever possible, because that way your computer doesn't have to be on for them to run. If I need it to work with any files, I'll make sure they're in Google Drive and make sure the plugin's working. That way it can access them anytime. If you're on the desktop app and it's working locally, your computer has to be on. So personally, I rarely create them that way. It's almost always in the cloud. And you can fully automate really long workflows this way. If you've been using ChatGPT but haven't used work yet, I definitely recommend you start. Anytime you have a long task, especially one with a deliverable at the end, just send that off in work instead. Hopefully this helps you get the most out of it. I'll see you in the next one.